5:30.
The Wink News exclusive at 5:30. A local jewelry store owner shares his story after being zip-tied, pistol whipped, and robbed.
A new threat from the Everglades spreads into southwest Florida. What invasive pythons bring back from the swamp.
And a ringing issue at Wink Listen, scam phone calls, how to stop them from flooding your inbox. First this half hour, the Department of Justice made one arrest as they continue to search for two other people connected to this week's armed robbery at T.O. Jewelers in the Cape. This is Wink News at 5:30. I'm Chris Safadi.
And I'm Lois Tomey. Investigators say robbers entered through a vacant business next door and left in a getaway car driven by 52-year-old Ivel Sanchez Rivera with a gun and jewelry. Wink News reporter Paul Dolan has been covering this story since it broke on Tuesday. And Paul, you exclusively spoke with one of the owners. Do we know how the robbers got into that store?
Yeah, it's a great question. Let me show you how the DOJ says that it all happened. There were two armed suspects inside of this empty business right next to T.O. Jewelers, which was closed at the time. Those suspects then cut a hole into the wall separating the two businesses and waited. Then when a manager came back inside of T.O. Jewelers, those suspects sprung into action. Joel Ochoa is standing just outside the store his family built that suddenly shifted into a crime scene.
It's a family-owned business, you know. We've been here. I've been doing business here, I would say, over 20 years.
The DOJ says jewelry and a gun were taken from inside the store. Investigators say one of those guns was found after searching 52-year-old Ivel Sanchez Rivera's home in Hialeah. He's accused of driving the getaway car to Miami immediately after the robbery. Ochoa says the two men inside took their time.
They have all the patience in the world. They spend almost 25 minutes just inside the store, going through the stuff and, making sure they grabbed pretty much everything that was on the counters, and they took everything pretty much inside the store.
Wow. That's how longtime customer Harold Santiago reacted when I told him what happened. He believes they knew what they were doing.
That's kind of professional, high-level crime.
For Ochoa, this crime scene represents something he always knew could happen, but hoped never would. Nevertheless, he and his family will overcome Tuesday's terrifying experience.
This one is a little bit tougher because, all the people that work in this place is family. So it's very, very hard. And, we all have families and kids, and we always think about the stuff that can happen, something like this. You can get shot or killed. And, it's very hard to digest.
The DOJ says that Rivera faces a maximum of 27 years in prison for the firearm and conspiracy charges. As for the other two suspects, they're still on the loose. Rivera is expected inside of a Fort Myers courtroom next week. Live in Cape Coral, Paul Dolan, Wink News.
As we just heard in Paul's report, law enforcement is still looking for two more men involved in that crime.
So how do they go about that task? Wink News security analyst and retired FBI agent Richard Kulko takes a look. Rich.
Well, Lois, I just listened to Paul's report, great report on how he explained what happened, and that gives a lot of leads to law enforcement. There is literally no way that these criminals got in a car in southeast Florida, drove across, and picked out this place on a lark. So what's going to happen is you can expect law enforcement to do a lot of research. They're going to have to find out who worked there, who previously worked there. Things like license plate readers can be of assistance because the car would have had to come scout out that area. Even cell phone towers, what cell phones had hit in the previous days or weeks. And they will put that information together, and that will help provide some leads to them, and then they'll continue this investigation. A lot of interviews too. Could it be a former employee, somebody who had some information or access? This didn't just happen on a lark.
Rich, we've heard of like Miami rings before. Is this cross-state type of crime a problem for Southwest Florida?
We have heard this before, and I've heard sheriffs speak about it. There have been issues with drugs coming across Alligator Alley, going both ways, things like that. But the crime that occurs in Southeast Florida, fortunately, has not worked its way over here. A lot of that has to do with law enforcement, how they are received over here, how they protect the counties over here. So when you look at a breakdown of the state of Florida, these southwest Florida counties, they're literally some of the safest counties in the state of Florida. That should make the people feel good about living here. But that for anybody who has information, intelligence information, providing that to law enforcement, working with law enforcement, can do everything that the community can do to help maintain that safety here in the community.
All right, Rich Kulko, thank you very much. People in Alva